Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes. Friday night, and you are listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is ordered. And let me tell y'all out there, we got something going on in Miami Gardens. You know what I'm saying? Miami about to go into the half down by 4 to the Louisville Cardinal. You know, we got Friday night football. We got Minnesota and Nebraska on Fox. You know, I am 2-5. He is Mr. Logical. We got picks, and more picks. So like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things, preferably with a liquid death in your hand. This Dr. Death right here is the new flavor of the week. And Mr. Logical, look what I found. I found liquid death hydration. Get my packs on, you know what I'm saying? But we're going to jump right into it. You know, we got a big weekend of football coming up. So let's hit it. Right from the top, Mr. Logical. The Colts returning to the scene of the crime. A couple of weeks ago, they went out to L.A., played the Rams, and then it didn't end well. You know, A.D. Mitchell dropped a touchdown that should have been. There was a hold, you know, on a touchdown that should have been the game-winning touchdown. But this time, they're going to play the Chargers. So are the Colts going to get it done this time?
I mean, everybody, like I said, a few weeks back, I was like, there's no chance the Giants beat the Chargers. But then they have a couple of key injuries. I think Harbaugh might have adjusted since then. But I like the Colts' chances. I like the confidence they're playing with. They're leading the AFC South. It looks like, you know, they look like they're playing winning football. You know, a lot of teams are winning their division. It's almost by default. It's look like they're really taking the division, you know, by storm and really grabbing the bull by the horns. So I like their chances. So, yeah, I'm running with the Colts. I think these quarterbacks kind of being castaways and sent around, and then they get an opportunity to really, like, show what they can do. I think Daniel Jones taking advantage of that. I love the way they're running the ball, like they were doing defensively. Adnan Mitchell, you talk about him. AD, he's back. I guess he was, you know, kind of in and out, wasn't get a lot of reps, but with the injuries, and he's worked his way back in. So I expect him to run around, score a touchdown that same corner, and hold on to the ball and bury it at the goalpost.
Yeah, so Josh Downs is out. You know, I'm a big Josh Downs guy. You know, Quentin Johnston, we'll see what his status is. Joe Alt is out of the boot, but I'm not sure if he's going to make it to play this weekend. Khalil Mack, 21-day window is open, but it doesn't look like he's going to make it back in time to play. So the Colts, they lead the league in scoring. They've only punted 10 times this season. They're punting 4 times this weekend, and the Chargers pull it out in a close 27-23 game. You know what I'm saying? So then, you know, Monday Night Football, or I should say one of the Monday night games, we got the Detroit Lions playing host to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, of course, last season, early in the season, Tampa Bay went into Ford Field and got out of there with a victory. But this game, I don't even know who's going to play because, you know, Tampa's got their injuries at receiver. Bucky Irvin's still hurt. You know, Detroit, both corners are out. You know, Brian Branch is suspended.
Slapped the shit out of Juju, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So I don't know who's playing.
I don't I get it that, you know, you get your cheap shots in during the game, but it's you could just hit them legally the next time you get an opportunity. Just especially a wide receiver and you're a safety, he's gonna run a route. He's gonna have to block on a run play. Like, just get your lick back legally. I think hitting him with the shoulder pad in a legal play is probably more physically imposing than slapping him in the helmet or even taking the helmet off or even throwing a punch. I just figure like hitting him really hard with your shoulder legally, driving him into the ground because they're not looking for that. If he was a quarterback, but like if he came downhill and he was going to block for a Pacheco run, just fucking let Pacheco run right past you and just run in the juju, get your lick back, and don't miss 2 games. But it is what it is. We talked about the play call that Detroit had with the whole Jared Goff and the replay and the refs. I like angry Dan Campbell. I like how I think he'll come out. I think they'll probably get a lot more. I think they'll get tricky, especially when they're going to be down a couple of corners. They're probably going to have to you know what? We got the ball here at the 50. Let's push it, try to get the touchdown. Like, let's really push the pace and make Tampa Bay try to play catch up with the injuries they have offensively. I don't think you sit back and play possession football, and I think you go for it. On top of the fact, like I said, a lot of people starting to think that the Chiefs are getting more favorable calls, and essentially Detroit would have been like that game where it's like, oh, they didn't get any penalties called on them the whole game. Let's come out here next week and leave no doubt.
But yeah, exactly like what you said, but the other way. I think Dan Campbell is going to go for it on 4th down, and I think he's going to meet opposition. This is Jared Goff that we're talking about. Blitz, blitz, blitz coming in his face. He doesn't make good decisions when he's under pressure. I like Jacob Parrish, the rookie corner out of Kansas State for Tampa. I think he's going to make an impact play in the slot. Zion McCollum, I feel good about him. So the only question that I have is, can Baker keep putting the pixie dust on everything and coming up in these clutch moments? Now, I am a little afraid. I'm going to pick Tampa, but I am a little afraid for the fact that our guy McCorkle came out there and threw for 347 on them last week. But, I mean, of course, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, so figure that out. But I'm going to go with Tampa. And then I've been complaining about how we've been treating our allies across the pond. But this time, we actually gave them a good game. Jacksonville against the Rams. Now we're going to see if Puka Nacua can go. I don't expect him to. But on the other side, Devin Lloyd for Jacksonville, who's probably one of the leaders for Defensive Player of the Year, he's going to be out. So, Mr. Logical.
That's tough because he is a ball hawk.
Yes.
So
who makes
somebody learned in Utah. I don't like the Jaguars have forced a lot of turnovers, and we all know Matthew Stafford is going to not necessarily throw you a pick, but he's going to try to squeeze in his little tight window. So if it's a half inch off and you get a tip on it and the safety's over top, because a lot of Jacksonville interceptions I saw, it was just they play their zone coverage and they all collapse on the ball. So like everyone stays in position. Unlike number 6 for Dallas, so they all stay in position. So they're always in position to to make a play on the ball. And you get a ball tipped up in the middle of the field, it's fair game. And I think Matthew Stafford's probably going to throw a couple of those kind of passes. He's going to have to force. You said Puka Nacua's ruled out. Him and Devontae Adams don't really seem to be on the same page.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And in crunch time moments, I think first quarter, you run that little double route. He'll hit you to the sideline, but Stafford's all right, 2 minute. I need you to stop right here on the hash. Just stop right there. I'm going to throw you open if you stop right there. And Devontae was yo, I'm going to run the safety off and I'm going to be open in the middle of the field. He was like, no, if you stop at the hash, I could squeeze it in there. And I think that communication is kind of off.
Yeah.
But with Puka out, I imagine that, he is a, Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver and a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. I figured they'll be able to marry that up. So I like the Rams. I know I pick against Jacksonville every once in a while, but I like the Rams in this one. I think I just doubt them for no reason sometimes. It's you know what? Best, quarterback, wide receiver, coach combo. I'll take that.
Well, there's great reason to take the Rams. I mean, you saw Trevor Lawrence get sacked 7 times last week. Travis Hunter out here getting baptized. I guess that's a bad thing according to the Skip Baylesses of the world. I'm gonna take Jacksonville though. I just like you said, I don't like the lack of connection that I'm seeing with Devontae and Stafford, and I feel like in a game like this, Stafford's going to have to try to force the ball to Devontae. So I'm going to take my chances and I'm going to roll with the Jags. So your guys, Sunday Night Football, the Atlanta Falcons going out to Levi Stadium. Sounds like Brock Purdy might be back. Kittle might be on the way back. And before we even get into the pick, let me throw this at you and get your reaction to this.
All right.
So what I'm seeing from B. John Robinson the last couple of weeks, I feel like this is what the Giants were supposed to do with Saquon Barkley.
Different kind of back. I think Saquon might be a little bigger, and I think his skill set is probably more give him the ball 20 times and then maybe a couple of screens. Because I think you can overuse it. Because I even feel like that with Bijan. It's like, I get it that you want to give him the ball because he's dynamic, get the ball in his hands. But because he's dynamic, when you split him out wide, there has to be less attention on Pitts and Drake London and McLeod and Mooney whenever he's out there. So it's like, I just feel like they don't always have to throw that bubble screen to him after they hand it off to him left in the pistol, line him up, throw the screen. I just think it's going to get predictable. And I don't want the 49ers to key in on that because for what it's worth, no matter how many injuries this team has, they seem to be prepared every single week. Win or lose, I mean, it's the NFL. Like I said, some point spreads are normally just one possession. So they tend to always be ready. Fred Warner being out, I don't know if it'd be a rallying move. Robert Saleh, can he get these guys up and ready to go? Like I said, I like Atlanta's chances because they're whole offensively. And I would take a whole offense versus like a quarterback that could be coming back with a toe injury who's not very mobile, as is, not very big. And then you have maybe a tight end that could be coming back or not. So I'll take a whole offense, even though it's my team, but like I'll take a whole healthy offense with dynamic players versus former dynamic offense with injured players.
See, I think that it's going to take a week for, at least a week for the 49ers defense to adjust to a guy like Fred Warner's loss. Like, I don't think they're going to give up 40 points or anything like that. But I just think in those moments where you need the leader, where you need the guy to take control of the defense and get everybody set up and squared away, I think that's where they're going to miss him the most. So I'm going to go with the Falcons, but I think this is going to be a Kyle Pitts game. I think that they can attack because Atlanta does a lot of edge attack as far as passing to the sidelines between the hashes and that type of thing.
Yeah, not a lot of stuff over the middle. And
but I think this is the week to do that. I think this is the week to do that without. Yeah. So I'm gonna take Atlanta. To win this game. And we'll see. Commanders coming down here to Dallas or to Arlington, I should say, to play the Cowboys, and I am pissed. Where is Terry McLaurin? I see CeeDee Lamb is back. The problem with Dallas is they could score 35 on anybody. The problem with Dallas is they can give up 35 to anybody. So the team that's going to win this game is going to be the team that commits to the run, not the team that runs the ball better per se, but the team that actually makes an attempt to establish the run game to keep the other defense honest. So, Washington is real Jekyll and Hyde, and Dallas doesn't have the trench play there because, usually most years Dallas has an imposing offensive line. They get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They have neither one of those things this year. Washington went out and got players that are supposed to bring the pressure, but they haven't been getting home. The offensive line still needs work. CeeDee Lamb is back. I hate playing Dallas the week after they lose a game. So I'm going to take the Cowboys by 3.
Really? Yes. By 3? You still picking against your squad?
Yeah.
I mean, I just, like you said, the problem with Dallas is that they looked great against the Jets because every so often the Jets will just kind of just disrupt their own offense and kill their own drives. So it looks like the defense is doing a great job against them. But really, it's like, yeah, you didn't need to take that sack on 2nd and 6. Now you're back to 3rd and 13. It was like the Jets did a lot of that. But then we had a team that went back and forth with them, Carolina, which is surprising. Dak can play a great game. Dak could literally go 25 for 32, 310, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and Dallas could lose a game 37-27.
Right,
And it's just a weird positioning because Dak looks good every week. The Chicago game, he still looked good. It's just that I think they had like a 4th down they didn't get, and maybe like a ill time turnover, like a running back fumble, and then they just couldn't stop the ball offensively. But he was having a good game. I think up until like the 4th quarter, where he had to throw the ball a lot. He was something like 17 for 20. He was having a good, accurate game. It's just that the defense couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. So that's the thing I'm kind of fearing. I know you talk about your secondary help, and maybe that's why the defensive line's not getting in. But I'm gonna go out on the limb. I'm gonna take Washington.
Yeah,
just because I think they bring enough stability, offensively and defensively, that Dallas just simply doesn't.
Yeah, the one thing that I do like, and for this week is the way that the game ended the other night with Jaden's fumble. So Jaden's been the type of guy that responds to that type of thing and plays well. And of course, Dan Quinn, I think just gets up for Dallas because he was the scapegoat in that playoff game against Green Bay. So then from there, you got Mike Vrabel going back to where it all began. He's going down to Nashville, Tennessee, not the home of Vanderbilt per se, but the home of the Tennessee Titans. Mr. Logical, is Mike Vrabel going to try to put up, say, 38 on the Titans?
I don't think he's going to have to try that hard. And we see it every year in multiple sports. You see it more in college football because guys can just leave. And you see what happens when a coach gets fired midseason or preseason expectations aren't being met by week 6. You can see guys kind of checking out.
Right.
The NFL, you don't really see it that much, but it is a trade deadline. So guys are probably trying to put good stuff on film, or guys are like, you know what? My hamstring's kind of tight. Let me hold out. So maybe I'm on a trading block. I think Tennessee is going to be one of those breaking point moments where it's like, we didn't put together a winning team in any aspect of what we're doing. I don't think they believe in a quarterback. I think the quarterback believes in himself. But if he was NFL ready, some of these plays will be made. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, he's out of the starting quarterbacks. He's last in completion percentage, 55%. His yards per throw, 5.5.
Yeah, so it's like you take a guy number 1 overall. He has the energy, he has the much, and you just you need experience, you need time. But if you walk into the locker room and you know if you've been in the league 6 or 7 years, what a winning team looks like, especially if you've been there 6 or 7 years.
Right.
You're like, I know what a winning team looks like. I know what the atmosphere feels like. I know what the coaches look like because you were under Mike Vrabel for those years. And this isn't it. So New England might just literally just run themselves to 31 points without even trying.
And here's a record for you real quick. Since 2000, and this is from Dante, I don't even know how to say his last name, but I'm going to go with Koplowich. He's at NFL.com senior researcher. Since 2000, interim coaches, because Mike McCoy's taken over this week, 6-17 in their first game when facing a team with a winning record. So there you go. Giants and Broncos.
That's one hell of a stat.
It is. Giants and Broncos. Give me the under, first of all. You know what I'm saying? I think Denver's defense is going to do what Philly's defense was supposed to do. Jeremy Lin, Cam Scannaboo, and Jackson Dart have been playing very well. I think it ends at Mile High. I think the not a blowout, but I think the Broncos get a comfortable win.
Well, the 13 points that the Broncos put up against the Jets after getting 9 sacks doesn't really impress me like going forward because 9 sacks, those are momentum killers. A lot of those sacks are on third down. Even if it's on first down, it's like worse than a holding call because now you're at 2nd and 17 and you got to pass and you just gave up a sack. So, 9 sacks is pretty much probably one every couple of possessions or 1.5 every possession,
Bo keeps missing those receivers.
Bo Nix isn't, deadly accurate. The game is in Denver.
10 Mile High, yeah.
10 Mile High. I mean, Jackson Dart is from Utah, so I don't think the elevation is gonna be surprising to him. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna take the Giants. I think they have just enough to they don't know they're not supposed to win these games, but they have just enough talent and just kind of tenacity. They put up 34 points on Philly.
So you represent everything New Jerusalem to include the Giants.
Listen, if you put up, if you have it, I get it. The Jets are a proud franchise. You can tell the coach really cares, and you can tell Justin, all these guys really care. But as we've seen the season play out, everyone's putting up points on them. Granted, Pittsburgh gave up a lot of points, but everybody else is putting up 20, 25, 30 points on them. And you scramble your way to 13, and you have this offensive guru head coach, and then you're going to bring the Giants. And the Giants, like I said, they run around a lot of young star talent on their defense. It's just a matter of can they get it together? And what helps them is, having a guy on the field that can make a play. If I thought about one play last week, Jackson Dart has to go out because the independent neurologist said he had to go in the tent. Forced Dable to put
Dayball ran that 4-3 over to the tent.
And then they put Russell Wilson in for one play. And it was it was a simple play. I think he was trying to hit Jalen Hyde on I think he's probably wanting around a quick seam route, just get the ball quick. I think it was 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9. And Jalen didn't see it, but he threw it so quick. It was that probably wasn't the first read, so probably pissed Dable off. That's not the read on that play. Jalen Hyde he just got his first catch in that game. So he obviously probably was not the first read on 3rd and 8.
Right.
So when he throws it to them, Dable's he runs right back over to the tent. Where's my guy at? So it just looks so much different.
Back out here.
Yeah.
So do that Josh Allen thing. So Miami and Louisville starting in the second half. Minnesota's up 7-3 on number 25 Nebraska early in the second quarter. So all right. Miami and Cleveland. Apparently there's going to be a lot of wind. So my thought was that ain't going to help Dylan Gabriel. But
it's not going to help either one of them.
Right. And then I was hold on. He was trying to throw too. So now, you know what I mean? I guess in a moment like this, I have to trust the team with the better defense, because there's probably going to be a lot of keying in on the run. You know what I mean? Miami has the better running back, but I think Cleveland has the better, we have to run the ball to help our quarterback out mentality.
Well, they threw it 52 times last week.
Yeah, they did do that. But
against a team that only scored 23 points. So it wasn't you were getting blown out. Pittsburgh scored 23 points. So why are you throwing the ball 52 times and only getting 9 points?
But the week before, they did, run the ball well. Judkins ran the ball well against Minnesota. So I'm gonna go with the Browns
they needed
here,
it to because Kevin Stefanski can't coach you to over 20 points in 2.5 years.
So here's the real question. I'm gonna pick the Browns, but loser of this game gone?
Well, we heard from our source inside the Miami Dolphins that Mike McDaniels and Tua are glued at the hip. So I imagine that you probably can't shake that Tua money off. So you're probably going to keep McDaniels. I don't know if Stefanski deserves to be on a chopping block, but it doesn't seem – I don't know who's calling the shots.
I think management doesn't
Cleveland.
believe in him anymore, and I don't know why. Because I don't think he's a bad coach. I mean, you know, when
That's
we
what I
first
mean.
started
It
Sports
seems to
Reports as
be
order, we picked him as our coach. Well, I did at least as the coach of the
coach
year that year.
because
Yeah,
because the time he spent with Baker. But it's like it just seems as if I'm trying to give a recent example. We'll go with this. Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Remember those latter years where it just felt like Bill was just doing stuff that wouldn't make sense to Robert Kraft. It
it's
was
like,
like,
yo, I want
why?
Cole Strange.
It's like that doesn't make any sense. And then it didn't work. This is
Yeah,
what it feels like with and it feels like any Raiders owner and their coach. It just feels like the owner, somebody else is saying, give me this. And he's like, nah, I don't want to, but he didn't have a real reason. Because personally, I would have started Shador already. And it's not a Shador versus Dylan Gabriel thing, but it's like I would have put him out there. I would have gotten rid of, like I said, I would have gotten rid of Flacco off the rip. I would have gone in with Pickett and the two rookies, or just the two rookies and a veteran backup and see what I got. Because you know these guys aren't really your future because you have this Deshaun Watson coming off he's a $230 million contract. So it just feels like he is just like trying to stick this square peg into a round hole and just make it work. And it's like, yo, it's not gonna work. We all see that Dylan Gabriel is undersized. We all see that his arm strength is underwhelming. He is a smaller version of Tua. And you're gonna see like how ineffective it because maybe to him he doesn't see it because he sees growth with Dylan Gabriel. When he watches Tua, and if the wind's in his face, he's gonna be like, this is what I'm doing to my team. Like sometimes, like you just need to get the message from another place. You know what I'm saying? It's not
yeah.
the not the
It's like
message,
it's
the
like when you
messenger.
tell your girl, like you give your girl a good idea, she don't want to hear it, and then her best friend say the exact same thing, and it's like
Yeah.
it's clairvoyant. You know what I mean?
It's like, wow, I've heard this somewhere before, but I don't know where. But that seems like it makes a lot of sense. I think him looking at Tua and McDaniels and kind of how it seems to be, for lack of a better word, eroding in Miami.
Yeah,
It's like you're
they're
gonna
out of
do that
water.
because
You know what I mean?
because
Yeah.
Shador has the locker room. He has the personality. He has what you need for your quarterback. Put him on the field and let him put the tools that he has as a quarterback. He can't be in when he talked about that statement he made the other day about, I look around the league and figure I could be doing that. I guarantee you he could do what Cam Ward's doing for the Titans.
At the very least, you know what I mean?
I can see him, he could do whatever Carson Wentz is doing.
But yeah, I think it's just going to come down to which team is more desperate, so we'll figure that out, but I'm going with the Browns. So other Monday night game,
Now to the
Houston.
Dolphins.
Okay. Houston coming off the bye week, going up to the Pacific Northwest to take on the Seahawks. And, this one is a first to 13 special. Whichever one gets the 13 points first wins. So I'm going to take Seattle 13-9, but I am looking forward to Jackson Smith and Jigba matching up with Derek Stingley. That's going to be the matchup of all matchups. Texans, I know they can't run, but they're going to have to figure it out, get Woody Marks more plays and, do some counters, misdirection to get Seattle off kilter because otherwise Seattle's just going to put it on them.
Yeah, you can't just sit back and just drop back and pass. C.J. Stroud's a good quarterback. He's one of the good young quarterbacks. He's having his up and down run, but he proved as a rookie, like, hey, he can handle these spots if you put him in the appropriate spots. And you got to be able to run the ball. I don't know why Nick Chubb isn't more featured. I don't know if the injury is really holding him back. I don't know if he came back too early. Maybe he needed to come back in October. But you got to figure out a way to run the ball effectively. That way to play action pass work because they like to take shots. Mm-hmm. We talked about it. I think it was in the I think it was either the last game. I don't know if they played the Colts in the playoffs, but I know they were playing for the division. And I remember the first play was like a play action deep post route shot. Like they like to go downfield. You can't do that if you can't run from the line of scrimmage and get 4.5 to 5 yards consistently.
Right. So, a couple of minutes ago, you mentioned single-digit point spreads.
Correct.
Well, I got a double for you. So we got the Raiders, 11.5-point underdogs going into Arrowhead. Do the Chiefs cover?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, let's play a quick game real quick.
All right.
Patrick Mahomes has played 14 games against the Raiders. What's his record?
13-1.
12-2. Andy
12-2.
Reid, since he's been Kansas City's coach, has played the Raiders 24 times. What's his record against the Raiders?
20-4.
20-4. You know, so
Trivia night, holla at me.
Geno Smith has already thrown 10 interceptions this season, and you know the Raiders have played the Chiefs very well. So for me, this game is how do the Raiders lose it? Because they won there in 2023. That was the Thanksgiving game or Christmas game, whatever holiday it was, where
That's
they
the
scored
the guy
back to
picked
back.
the ball off one handed,
Yeah.
off the 2 turnovers,
got
and then
the fumble
Aiden
return
O'Connell
right
had 2
after.
completions.
Yep. And then they lost there in 22 and last year by a combined 3 points. So a 2-point loss and a 1-point loss. I think Kansas City's found something. You know, Rashee Rice is back. You know, the Raiders secondary is already abysmal as it is. So unless Max Crosby is going to get home and get 3 sacks or something along those lines, I think Kansas
Crosby
City
has to be unblocked every play
Yeah.
for the Raiders defense to be impactful. Because I was saying to you a couple weeks ago when the Chiefs were 2-3 and after Jacksonville game, I was like, they look like they know how they're going to score their points when they come out. Like if the Raiders somehow get a field goal on the opening drive, I know that Kansas City is going to come out like they're going to play like this is how we're going to get a touchdown. And if Geno Smith has a resurgence and he gets him a touchdown, it's 10-7. I know Kansas City is going to walk out there confidently. Like Patrick Mahomes is walking different. Once guys just kind of figure out how to get open, and then that space is created with Worthy, Juju's man in the the spot in the middle, and Kelsey. It's like that looks like they have him on a pitch count, and it's effective because he'll come in first down, and then come like maybe they run a couple plays, get a couple first downs. He comes off, they bring Gray and the other tight end. Kelsey stand back there chilling. It's like, all right, 3rd and 3, bring Kelsey back in, and they get him involved in the action. I think they're figuring out how to, deploy all their weapons that they have. Because for the last couple of years, we talk about these 1 and 2 point games against the Raiders. They were going into those games with like, I think MVS was the number 1 guy. Then Juju was like the number 1 guy. Then they try to run Sky Moore in there. Hollywood Brown, and he'll be injured. So it's like none of those guys were really posing out of threats. So it was allowing the defense to play differently.
Yeah.
You play wrong now. there's 3 guys on that team that are 4-3 guys. Yeah. 3 guys are going to be in the starting lineup that are 4-3 guys. And then Rashee Rice, who is just dynamic and one of Patrick Mahomes' favorite targets. So yeah.
And I need more Brashard Smith. I need more Brashard Smith. I've been talking about him the last couple of weeks.
They like getting the ball. I think it's and
the Raiders just don't run the ball well enough to keep Kansas City, to keep them honest.
Genty is still learning how to, pick up the blocks. Chris Jones has been terrorizing guards and centers. Like the Detroit game, he has he has a couple of moves. Obviously, he has the bull rush. Shout out to Rez because he's like 6'6", 330. He has the bull rush move. But then he has like this real nimble kind of like 1-step swim where like he swims and like his left foot gets through and then all of a sudden his arm's up. And he was a Jared Goff was like, yo, y'all seen him, right? Like I pointed him out. I was like, him. Yeah, right. This dude. Yeah. The soft-spoken 6'6" guy from Mississippi State. Yeah. Block him. You both of you. Like, don't worry about anybody else. Y'all got him? Yeah, we got it. We got it, Jared. And he stepped back and like 95's in his chest, and he's like, So that's what Geno Smith is gonna see. Remember when he screamed, "Oh shit!" when he saw Aaron Donald? He's gonna say that a lot.
So you remember last year I was loving hard, and I had the Titans back when nobody else did.
Oh man, we talked about that for like an hour.
So I'm about to say something really, really stupid.
Let's hear it.
The road to 0-17 is over. The Jets take down the Panthers.
Cap.
You know what I'm saying? Bryce Young, and I know I'm about to be a hypocrite real quick because I hate quarterback record. But in his career, Bryce Young 1-15 on the road. You know, this is going to be a spot for the
He's
Jets
played
to get.
16 road games already.
Yes, and you know, so Carolina is ninth against the run, you know, and Garrett Wilson is out. But this is the NFL. You know, this is just how the NFL
Not
works.
the Jets, though. It's not, the Jets. It's not the Jets NFL. See, like last night, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Joe Flacco coming in. It's the NFL because Cincinnati has T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So if you can figure out how do I get the ball to these two guys effectively, you could probably win. With the Jets, because the very basic thing they need to do, they don't do any of it well. They don't convert third down. They don't set themselves up well for third down. So they'll get a good run on first down. You know, we'll call it 6 yards. So that's 2nd and 4.
Well, you know,
they'll get either a sack on 2nd down that puts them back at 3rd and 11, incompletion, and then on 3rd down, they don't like Justin Fields doesn't take the check down. And instead of making the primary read, the check down to ensure that he takes it, like, yo, this is the first read. It's nope. I'm gonna look for the long plays. Like, yo, dog, it's 3rd and 4. You're a running quarterback. So if you get it to 4th and 1, you got a shot. But then when they do go for it on 4th and 1, it's from shotgun.
You line them up
and they're trying to throw it. Yeah. And they're trying to throw it.
Out. Yeah. And you know, I was talking about it earlier, this Louisville-Miami game. Well, I was talking about this Louisville-Miami game earlier where Louisville came out in these packages that had all 3 quarterbacks lined up, or it might be 2 quarterbacks on the field at once. You can't tell me that you can't put Tyrod Taylor out there and throw Justin Fields a bubble screen or something.
If you put Tyrod Taylor in there and you line Justin Fields out there, you gotta cover him, and you gotta cover him with someone with some foot speed. You can't just throw a linebacker out there because
remember
they might check to the go ball.
And remember the Tampa game, you know, Tyrod Taylor had to play, and you know he led the team up and down the field. So I'm just gonna say, Jets are gonna win this game, and Tyrod Taylor is gonna be the reason. So Mr. Logical, I never thought that I would be saying must win for this team. But I'm not even going to call it a must win. I'm going to call it a must score. The defending champions have been outscored 52-17 in the last 3 quarters. They're playing against Minnesota. Now, whether that's J.J. McCarthy or Carson Wentz, I don't know. But Minnesota's got the cavalry coming back. They're coming off the bye week. They got their offensive line coming back. You know, Van Ginkel should be out there. You know, Blake Cashman should be out there. So the defense is going to be formidable that Philadelphia is going to face, on top of the fact that their offense just hasn't been playing well to begin with. So Saquon, I don't know what's going on as far as it seems as though Philadelphia started the season trying to prove some kind of point. You know, like we don't need Saquon. And now that they need Saquon, they just can't do anything.
It's the play design and play calling are vanilla. I saw a breakdown from the game last week. I think it was Brian Baldwin because he does like the all 22. And pretty much he pulled up like 4 different plays of like very similar situations for Philly. 3rd and 6 to 3rd and 8. You know, pass. That's generally a passing down. They go 2 by 2. So they got Dallas Goedert and I believe like Dotson on one side, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith on the other side. They'll motion Dallas Goedert out wide, outside of that wide receiver, and then both wide receivers will run like curl routes, and then the other 2 wide receivers, like Dallas Goedert, would run like an N off that curl, and then the other one would like run like a post or like a go, like something to kind of pull the defense away from the curl route. So you got the two curls that are waiting underneath, the dig that's coming in behind that, and then like the 9 ball or the post route to try to pull one to safety. Just try to get one of these guys underneath open. They did it 4 times, same 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, but they just swapped the players, but they ran exact same routes. So it's like, here's the curl, here's the dig, here's the curl, here's the go. And it's like they just kept doing it over and over again to the point where it's like, if I'm a defense, it's like, all right, so Saquon's not getting the ball in this. Like I can see this 2x2 is 3rd down. There's no draw play, there's no screen pass, there's no bubble, there's no toss, there's no keeper with Jalen. It's just legit.
It's just odd. It's really odd, and I don't understand it, but I'm gonna take Philly 17-13, and just call it a low scoring game where Jalen Carter is back this weekend. So I expect them to put Minnesota's offense under a lot of pressure. Obviously they were missing him against the Giants last week, but I just got to repeat it until they do it. They got to give Saquon the ball at some point. He's your money maker. He's the one that opens up the offense. Those routes don't work if they know that Saquon's not going to touch the ball, even if it's on a screen, even if it's on some little route out of the backfield. It's not, it's just not going to work. But Mr. Logical, I'm a coward. Oh, my bad. I got Philly. in a close game.
Yeah. I'm taking Philly because, like, if Carson Wentz plays, I think his situational awareness is, like I talked about it with Justin Fields. It's like, it's 3rd and 7. You're in field goal range. Throw it away. Don't get a grounding call. Don't take a sack. Both these guys will be damn near sacked, not throw it away and get a grounding call, and now they're punting. Both of them do the same exact thing. It's like yin and yang of like just situational awareness, and they both will do the same thing. It's like, hey, 3rd and 7, we're at a 46-yard field goal right now. Don't fuck this up. We can kick a 46-yarder, sack, 58-yarder. All right, go ahead, Nick Folk. Let's go ahead and swing this leg and see if we can get 3 points.
All right, so I'm a coward because I really, really want to pick the Saints to beat the Bears. Tell me why they won't.
You know what? Saints fans been crushing me, or attempting to. They really been crushing me. I'm just throwing a little olive branch out there. But they really been getting at me because my preseason statement saying I didn't think the Saints were a serious franchise. But they're playing pretty gutty football. Like they're playing to where if they can play the game that Washington played last week, they don't have any playmaking at the quarterback position. It's Taysom Hill coming in doing some gadget stuff, but you're down, a field goal in the first half. I don't see anybody coming off the sideline as a New Orleans quarterback that I can guarantee will get them in the field goal range or get them a touchdown. The defense made a lot of plays. They made a ton of plays. I think they had like 5 turnovers and like 5 possessions in a row on the Giants. So they're playing tough. I just feel like Ben Johnson just going to have easy plays, easy throws built into complicated looking plays for Caleb Williams.
How motivated is Caleb Williams to beat Spencer Rattler?
I think Spencer's probably more motivated to beat Caleb because Caleb already beat him. He took his job. He won that comeback game, and then he took his coach.
And then this dude went number 1.
And then he went number 1, where Spencer Rattler was the number 1 rated quarterback out of high school.
Yeah.
And I think so was Caleb Williams, but he took his shine. Like he took Oklahoma.
I'm gonna do it, man.
I'm another level. And then
I'm gonna pick
Cali,
the Saints.
I think he won. I'm picking Chicago. Like I said, it's a lot of like mojo jumbo, blah, 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 over this, blah, blah, all these combinations, these route combinations, just to get the tight open, wide open. And I think Ben Johnson's going to dial that up. Whereas I don't think Kellen Moore is going to put Spencer Rattler or whoever he puts behind under center in a position just to get an easy big play. And I think easy big plays can bring the mood down. Where's the game? The game's in
this
Chicago.
It's in Chicago, yeah. So this is one of those something's got to give games. The Bears are second behind Jacksonville in takeaways, and Spencer Rattler on the season has only thrown one pick. 69% completion percentage. 3 of the Saints' 5 losses are by 1 score. So
how many touchdowns has he thrown?
6.
About 6.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, he's gonna be good with the ball because he's a good quarterback. It's just he needs to be the backup to Mahomes in Kansas City. Like that's where he's gonna give the most value for your team because he can. If Mahomes rolls an ankle and needs to miss a game, I got Spencer. He's going to throw about 30 passes. He's going to complete 24 of them, 2 touchdowns, 198 yards. We're going to hand the ball off 27, 30 times.
Yeah.
You can't go into your starting lineup with a quarterback that's just a game manager without a special like talent that's going to help you. Just his presence help you win the game.
Yeah, and then finally, I'm going to take the Packers over the Cardinals. The Cardinals are wishing that Jacoby Brissett can play. We'll see what Kyler Murray's status is. Yeah. So
that'd be the game that we'll be looking at on next Tuesday. Like, how the hell did we not see Arizona beating Green Bay?
It almost feels like that year when Kyler Murray came back from the injury and they won in Philly. It almost kind of feels like that.
And they won like 31-30.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah,
put high score points on Philly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mr. Logical, I am unhinged. Because I want. Look, so real quick story. I was talking about Cocktober the other day, and Josh Pate. Josh Pate has been Mr. Cocktober. One of my favorite podcasts. So somebody went on Twitter and asked, is it Grok? They asked Grok, hey, is Cocktober really a thing? And Grok said, well, South Carolina's 5-9 in October under Shane Beamer. so maybe not really Cocktober. But with that being said, Mr. Logical, I'm taking South Carolina on the money line to upset Oklahoma down in Williams-Brice Stadium. Give me Arkansas, upset alert. Give me Arkansas, 7.5 point spread against Texas A&M. They cover. Texas A&M has won 12 out of 13 in this series. The crazy part about it, though, is that they usually play at Jerry World. This time, they're actually playing in Vietnam, as they call it. So I'm going to take Arkansas to cover that. Give me Washington, the Huskies, Weapon X, Damon Williams, on the money line. I'm taking Washington to go into the big house and win. Give me Mississippi State to cover 9.5 at the Swamp. And it sounds like Billy Napier might get fired, win or lose. And oh, by the way, College Game Day trying to make me watch tomorrow. I'm still not gonna, but apparently they got this exclusive interview with James Franklin tomorrow. So continuing on. Give me UTSA money line against North Texas. And as a bonus, I want the over 67.5. Boise UNLV, I want UNLV plus the 12.5, and I want the over 63.5. Give me Rutgers in.
Right. What score you got? 42 to.
Well, hell, it was 51-48 against Air Force last week. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
that was in regulation. You know what I mean? So give me Rutgers in Oregon, over 59.5. No pick here, but I want to see how Texas responds to the win after Red River. They're going into an early game in Lexington, so I want to see that. No pick, but I just wanted to point out that South Florida and Florida Atlantic over under 74.5. 74.5. Penn State, Iowa, I want the under 40.5. Of course, that's at Kinnick Stadium. Penn State's first game without Franklin. Give me Maryland and UCLA over 52.5. And then I want Vandy and LSU under 48.5. So there you go. Those are the picks for the week. All right.
40-point over-under in college football is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I think Iowa wins like 20-3 or something like that.
Oh, you don't think Penn State moves the ball at all?
Nah, freshman quarterback making his first start at Kinnick Stadium. I don't like it. So of course, down in the SEC, we got revenge on the mind because last year Georgia went to Oxford, Mississippi, and Ole Miss put that thing on them, 28-10. So now we're going between the hedges. And I've been talking about Georgia. Are they Georgia? They're not. Ole Miss last week had a close call 3-point win over Washington State. Were they looking ahead? And I wanted to ask you, how serious do you think looking ahead is? Is that a thing or is that just a talking point?
It is. It is because you watch film all week. You see who the dynamic playmakers are. You know what their plays are. You know who can block well, who runs well, who takes plays off. At any level, like you see it, or you see them play a different team, or you see the score, like, oh, this team played this team and they beat them by this score. So I think all of that kind of gets into your head. And then when you get in the game, the clock starts ticking in. You can make a mistake here, have to punt on a drive because you didn't convert, then they score. Now it's like, oh, these guys jumped out on us 10-0, 14-0. And now you're in scramble mode. And the team that's in the lead, if they stay calm, is like, listen, we're up 2 possessions. So at a minimum, they got to get the ball and score it twice. So if you lock that in, because sometimes teams like, oh, we're up 2 possessions. We got to get up 3. We got to go for it on 4th down, and you change the momentum. So you can look ahead and see like, oh, this team, we're not worried about them. The real opponent is next week because we can shut this down. We can shut this down. And then, like I said, in real time, like Mike Tyson said, everybody got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And I think teams that look ahead, they get punched in the mouth by like, quote unquote, a lesser team.
By Washington
and the
State.
better one scramble. Yeah, the better one scramble.
Lucky that game wasn't in the Palouse.
When you play with skill, good luck, what happened? You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. So Ole Miss gives up 159 yards on the ground per game. So depending on how this works, they should sell out, obviously, and make Gunnar Stockton beat them. But that's provided that they can still stop the run if they feel
he has a little wiggle to him.
He does, and Trinidad Chambliss, that's been my thing, right? Like the Heisman resides in Trinidad. So this is your chance. You make a mark in Athens, people are going to remember you. But in the third quarter of this season, Mr. Logical, Georgia has outscored their opponents 41-7. So what I think is going to happen, we're going to see a lie. I think Georgia is going to bitch slap Ole Miss up and down the field. People are going to declare Georgia back just for a few weeks later, Georgia to fall on their face. So, I think that the schedulers did Georgia a favor, though, because
we talked about the beginning of the year.
They gave them this game the week after they played Jackson Arnold. So, so you come off of one scrambling quarterback to get another one. So I think that they got some things that they picked up from playing Auburn last week that are going to do Ole Miss in. So I'm going to go Georgia along the lines of, let's call it 31-20.
I'm going to take Ole Miss.
Okay.
I don't like the Georgia, the lack of dominance that they normally show.
Okay.
I get that guys graduate, guys transfer, but they're such a premier program. They get guys drafted in the top 10. I mean, hell, half the Phillies defense are, a bunch of Georgia Bulldogs. And that was happening year after year after year. But in that same run, they still were competing for national championships and just making things happen. So I'm not feeling that same level of dominance. And I know Lane Kiffin is probably keeping his guys like, listen, we can go into their home field and ruin their weekend.
Yep. So Miami's getting close to the red zone here, down 17-10 with 4 minutes left in the third quarter. Minnesota up 7-6 on Nebraska with 1:52 left. And oh, by the way, I had Minnesota on the money line as well, but that was obviously before the show, so I didn't bring it up because the game's going on. Third Saturday in October, Mr. Logical. Josh Heupel seems to have this Alabama thing figured out. They've won 2 of the last 3, including You know, the false start on the kicker.
False
That didn't
start
get
on the
called.
kicker. They didn't call it.
But Tennessee has not won in Tuscaloosa since 2003. Do they get it done, Mr. Logical?
2003, when you and I were deployed to the Middle East as undisclosed location. Didn't even know. We were there at the same time. Didn't even know it. Did you play basketball?
I did.
Remember on the runway? Like they had a little makeshift runway turned to a basketball court.
I was out there.
Man, I fell one time. I scraped my shoulder, my elbow, my knee. That was 03. I don't think that scar healed until like 2010. Like it literally was still there.
The only athletes should be playing.
Oh, wow. I'm saying we was out there. I was out there all the time. I was giving them hell. Nah, we had like an intramural league. That shit was crazy. Like, I'm deployed eating Dunkin' Donuts and pizza in the intramural league. But 2003 is a long. That's how shows you how long ago it was. I haven't played intramural basketball probably since then. Right. So like that shows you how long ago that was. I don't think that trend stops. I'm taking Alabama. I just feel like they just keep it simple. We're bigger, stronger, faster. And we employ that strategy every single week. Their quarterback is playing like a Heisman candidate, playing with a lot of confidence. Yeah, I like that. And we talk about Kalen DeBoer and what he did with Michael Penix in those years he had him at Washington. I think he's doing the same thing in Bama. And I like Bama at home against a team that they've beaten at home a lot.
The one thing that I am concerned about, and I brought this up last week as well, is just the schedule, right? You know, they went into Georgia, came home, physical game against Vanderbilt, went to Mizzou last week, and now you got your rival that's just chomping at the bit to get a hold of you. Tennessee coming off a bad performance, you know, against Arkansas last week. So Josh Heupel seems to have this match up well with Alabama, his offensive system. But this is the problem, to your point, Mr. Logical. In SEC play this year, Tennessee gave up 41 to Georgia. They gave up 31 to Arkansas. They gave up 34 to Mississippi State. Trend. They're going to give up 38 to Bama tomorrow. On top of that, Tennessee will put Ty Simpson under pressure. And you don't see Ryan Williams either? Yeah, he was supposed to be, you know, Jeremiah Smith's competition for the best receiver in the country. Where is he? He's not even the best receiver on his team anymore. Tennessee shut him down last year. So now, Joey Aguilar, the quarterback for Tennessee, since the SEC since conference play has started, turned into a turnover monster. You know, they were gloating at UCLA, hi, Nico, and then this guy's been throwing no interceptions. So, yeah, give me Bama.
Yeah, he was playing great against Georgia, and you talked about how Georgia outscoring opponents in the third quarter. I think like midway through the second quarter, they figured out some things, and they were, you know, they pressured them. I think they forced a couple of bad sacks, a couple of bad throws. But yeah, I just like Bama. Like, I mean, for me, taking the more established team at home makes a lot of sense. Like I said, I know I didn't pick Georgia, but I think in this instance, I like Ty Simpson, Caleb DeBoer, and the Alabama just, you know, allure.
Yeah. I got you. And Miami got a field goal, so 17-13, Louisville, 151. Don't forget out there, I picked Louisville to make the ACC title game, you know. But anyway, then you got the battle for the Jeweled Shillelagh, you know. And I know, you know, all the people on TikTok, you know, they were all up in the comments, you know, fight on USC. You know, my one man had the football field Photoshop. USC sucks. So this is one of the better rivalries that don't get the attention because this rivalry was created back in yesteryear. You had all the Heisman split up between these two schools. You know, your Marcus Allens and people like that. You had Joe Montana come through the series. So this was more of a 70s, 80s rivalry. Then, of course, you had the Bush push, you know, like in a couple of years, or not a couple of years ago, but, you know, fairly recently. So
yeah, that was, man, we getting old. That was about 20 years ago.
I want to say that was 2005. It was like exactly 20 years ago.
2004, 2005 season. Yeah, so it was 2004, like November 04, yeah.
Yeah. So now it sounds like there's going to be some rain. So what I want to know, Mr. Logical, is USC going to be able to stop the run game? And by the way, before you even get started, spread Notre Dame by 9.5.
Notre Dame run game is pretty synonymous. USC's never really been like a physical defense to me, so I don't think they're going to be able to stop the run game because you have to meet that with physicality. Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman versus, Lane Kiffin Jr.
Oh yeah,
that's who he reminds me of. I like I said, I like Notre Dame in this game. I just think that they've had more consistent football under this current coach versus USC with Lincoln Riley. I think there's been questions up and down. Yes, he did have the Heisman winner a few years back, but they couldn't beat Utah. Then they couldn't get into the playoff. I just feel like what they are doing in South Bend, you could do anywhere, and I don't believe USC can compete with Notre Dame. I know it's a rivalry game, so you got to throw a lot of out the window. But if I had to pick, which I will pick, a Notre Dame.
Yeah, so I know last week USC impressed me with their win against Michigan, but that is a freshman quarterback that we're talking about, no matter how much money he makes. But this is the game.
Michigan is very vanilla. Like
they are.
I think we are enamored with the big house in Ann Arbor and the maize and blue. But when you put it down the field, it's like I know this is just a video game, but I remember I was playing with them on a video game. I was like, it was like the wide receivers were like average speed, average size. It's like I don't think they threaten you.
Hey, Donovan McCulley's been showing up the last couple of weeks, but as far as this game goes, Notre Dame over the last 3 games, they've given up a total of 27 points. That was against Arkansas, Boise, and NC State. So let's pump the brakes on that one.
I mean, 27 points for college, considering like there's an over-under of 74.5. Like that's pretty substantial when like there's like games where like multiple games of over-under 63.5, and you're debating like, do I take the under on this? So yeah, Notre Dame is pretty solid.
Notre Dame did lose their starting center, though, Ashton Craig, for the rest of the season. So that's going to be big. I think the rain is going to help Notre Dame out. Like regular weather, I might have been tempted to pick USC to win this game. But with the rain, the physicality, how effective is Mekhi Lemon going to be? And, if anything, Notre Dame better figure out where he is on every play. Into the third quarter, Louisville 17-13 going into the fourth quarter. Minnesota with a 7-6 lead on Nebraska at the half. So I think that it's not just Jeremiah Love that you have to worry about. You have to worry about Price too, Jadorian Price. So I think Notre Dame's just going to wear USC down. I still think I like USC to cover, but I'm going to take Notre Dame along the lines of 27-21. And then, of course, before we go around the nation real quick, Mr. Logical, Holy War tomorrow.
Yeah, I was like, I know he's not going to skip over that.
Live from Provo, Utes favorite by 3.5. The Cougs are going down.
Well, absolutely, I'm going to pick Utah. But the thing, like, when I lived there and you lived there as well, you hear about all the rivalries. You hear about the Notre Dame push USC. You know about, the Iron Bowl. You know about even some of these other, like, these other bowl games. I think Arkansas and LSU had a rivalry for a while. They were playing for like a jug of some kind. Yeah, so you've had these rivalries. Obviously, any Florida school seems to be a lot of competition. Guys seem to be real familiar with each other. Utah BYU wasn't one I was familiar with, and going back, if you look at some of the game-winning, game-ending plays, some of it doesn't make any sense. Like John Beck shaking off like 5 defenders to throw like a touchdown into the end zone for BYU to beat Utah. I believe it was probably like 06-07 time frame. Utah needing to like battle the game out so they can go undefeated and get the BCS Bowl. That was a tough game against BYU. the radio stations and the TV, people just going back and forth talking about this holy war. And it always, like, a lot of times it comes down to, I believe a couple years ago, it was a false start or a hold, and then that changed the dynamic. It's always something that's always very late, last 5 minutes of the game. If you don't watch the whole game at all, just turn it on for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, it always comes down to the wire.
Within one possession, then that last 5 minutes will be about 35 or 40 minutes of real lifetime, and you'll see fans have heart attacks on each side.
Yeah, Utah remembers 22-21 in that BS pass interference, but the game is in Provo. LJ Martin is going to be the key to this game because, I think the Utes are going to shut down Bear Bachmeier at the quarterback spot. I'm going to take Utah in a defensive struggle. I'm going to call it, say, 20-16. We talked about Vanderbilt already. Last thing from me before we switch it over is, College game day, do the right thing. Go to Memphis and South Florida next week. Just do the right thing. So, Mr. Logical, I know you've been looking at these buyouts, these crazy contracts.
Yeah, these crazy buyout contracts, the Jimbo Fisher specials.
Yes.
I was watching, the podcast was on. I think it was on, it was on my TV downstairs. Like, somebody had the TV on, they were watching like live TV. And the guy was running the podcast. He was like, man, if you gave me $5 million to not show up and do this podcast, I'm out. I'm not trying to get another job. I'm not trying to do anything else. But the interesting thing I saw was that the agent, and I'm going to pull up the guy's name so I make sure I get it correct. The agent that represents like 7 of the top 10 paid coaches, he does the same thing every time one of them gets a buyout. He starts floating a rumor that one of his clients might be interested in this vacant job, and then that school gives that guy an extension. So I was watching this some TikTok influencer, Ken Sports 24. That's the video I sent to you. So what he said that's the one I sent to you, he said, I'm willing to bet that one of his guys is going to get a crazy extension because he has, I'm going to run down the names real quick.
James Franklin, Mike Norvell.
Yes, Kirby Smart, Kalen DeBoer, Sarkisian, Dabo, Mike Norvell, Dan Lanning, Sig Nasty, and James Franklin. So that's 7 of the top 10 largest buyouts. He has all those guys. So what happened was when Jimbo Fisher got fired, he started floating ideas that Mike Norvell might take that job or something like that. FSU gave an extension. So he said, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy, Jim Sexton, who's the agent for all these guys, starts floating this idea. Come to find out, Sig Nasty just got an extension.
And the rumors were him going to Penn State.
So he got an extension, crazy money, 8 years, what I believe, like $92 million.
That was the thing with Norvell. Originally, whoever Alabama was going after, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but whoever they were going after stayed in place. So Norvell became hey, Alabama's interested in this guy. And I can tell you, without any sources, without talking to anybody, Alabama was not interested in Mike Norvell. I'll tell you that right now. But he got the extension based off of that hearsay. And here we are stuck with a $58 million buyout because we can't buy this guy out. And he better not.
So expect to hear Mike Norvell to Penn State rumors. As Florida State buys him out.
And I can tell you for a fact that Penn State does not want Mike Norvell.
Listen, it's not about who they want. It's about this power agent because he also represents Nick Saban. And that was like the one of the early dominoes because he also represents, like I said, Kalen DeBoer. So Nick Saban retires. Hey, man, I think one of my guys is interested in that job. That guy gets an extension. Then he gets his guy, Kalen DeBoer, from Washington to Alabama. It's genius. I give him credit. He's obviously does well. And if he's getting 10 to 15% of all of these contracts and 10% of these buyouts, he's going to have a nice little Christmas.
Yeah, and on top of that, not to switch topics, but just to bring in a quick pivot, just like that video I sent you with Coach Prime, out here doing the scrimmages with his players that don't really play a lot, so they can
Yeah.
put stuff on film for the transfer portal. He's like, hey, I can't expect that all of y'all are coming back next year. So those are the people that succeed, are the people that think outside the box, and this guy has a formula because he know that people can't say no. Like we always talk, and I say things like, well, if y'all stop buying Madden, or like, people are like, hey, College Game Day won't go here. Well, then stop watching College Game Day. But you're not going to stop watching College Game
You're
Day.
gonna keep watching.
So I
You got to see
remember
those funny signs.
So I remember when the Big East was still a thing. UConn and Rutgers were both in the Big East at the same time. Notre Dame wanted to play Rutgers. So they wanted one game at South Bend, but instead of coming to Rutgers, they wanted to play at MetLife. So Rutgers said, no, we want you on campus. Our fans deserve to see you on campus. You know what Notre Dame did? They called UConn. UConn said, we'll play you at Foxborough. You know what I mean? And that, so that's why these things work, because nobody is willing to hold the line. So anybody with a brain knows damn well Alabama didn't want no Mike Norvell.
No.
They don't want Mike Norvell. They don't want Steve Norvell. They don't want Brian Norvell.
They want Nick Saban or someone who walks and talks like Nick Saban. I think they probably would have taken Kirby Smart.
Yeah, they would have.
I think I was thinking it would have taken Kirby Smart. Yeah, these contracts, the buyouts. Another thing in the podcast I was watching, they said, if I'm a student at Penn State who's taking out loans, family saved up money, they mortgaged their house for me to go to school here, and you just gonna take $49 million that you could probably spread over some of our student loans and just give it to a guy to not work here.
Yeah,
it's like, it's strange. And I get it, the money's different, but just from that macro kind of level of looking at it, it's like, that is strange that you have that kind of buyout in the clause, but
right,
the coaches have power.
Norvell's dropped to 58.
Yeah.
So real quick before we get out of here, let's play a quick game real quick. I just want to ask you a couple questions. All right. So this is Penn State, right? They're the new job that's open, the big boy on the block, if you will.
Correct.
If you're Marcus Freeman, do you leave Notre Dame to coach Penn State?
Nah.
I agree.
Because your resources are the same.
Touchdown Louisville. If you are
your national championship at Notre Dame carries a little bit more legendary prestige than if you get one at Penn State, I think. I mean, it's close, but I think the Notre Dame being in the Notre Dame allure as one of the greats, I think outweighs, because like right now, Penn State has Joe Paterno as their great, and that's muddled with the sexual assault that was going on under his watch. Yeah. So you would have to win a national championship, and no one's going to put you over Joe Paterno, even with the scandal. But in Notre Dame, you're up there with any Notre Dame legend who did anything at Notre Dame ever. Rocket Ismail, Joe Montana, Rudy, all of the stuff that goes along with the allure of that golden helmet. So yeah, and like I said, your resources are the same, and you're controlling your destiny too.
If you're Lane Kiffin, do you leave Ole Miss to go to Penn State?
No, because I think in the next couple of years, a lot of these coaches who've coached for about 10 plus years and they're pushing 55-ish in age, I think they're going to get tired of whatever doesn't happen with the NIL.
Right.
And I think you're just going to start getting a lot of, I'm not saying Kirby Smart's going to leave, but if Kirby Smart's like, you know what? Yeah, I didn't win national championships every year, and I keep losing all these 5-star guys that I got to keep recruiting and re-recruiting and re-recruiting and re-recruiting. I got to keep selling this top-tier program. the guy they replace him with won't be anywhere near his age. So I think Lane Kiffin will be in that spot where he's like, I could just wait out some of this because there's a lot of schools in the SEC that think they should be competing for national championships, especially now with 12 spots. And especially if it goes to 16 and you're a Tennessee, South Carolina fan base, your Georgia fan base, Bama fan base, LSU fan base, Missouri, like all of you are going to think like we deserve one of these 12 or 16 spots. And as teams don't get them, they're going to get rid of coaches. I think Lane will be perfectly you're sitting in the catbird seat.
All right, last one. If you're feeling the heat and you think that, hey, if I go 8-4, maybe 9-3 this year, people going to be calling for my job. If you're Brian Kelly, do you leave LSU to go to Penn State?
Brian Kelly is probably the one guy I'm like, yeah, simply because I don't think he's had that great of impact as a coach. I think he's had some success. He's like a more successful Matt Rule. You know how I feel about Matt Rule is like, yeah, you did turn around the program. I get it. Like you took it from where it was, and then you got another one. But even with that, you turn the program around, which takes a lot of effort. But you didn't stay to see it through. But no one cares that you didn't stay to see it through. I think like the same, like like no one's like, oh, why didn't you just stay at Baylor and turn Baylor to a powerhouse? And you could have been at Baylor for 11 to 12 years, and but like no one's giving him that heat. And then when he went to Temple, it was like, man, you did it here too. And then you went to Carolina. So I think Brian Kelly's in that same boat where it's like he had his success in Cincinnati. Then he left when they were like, I believe they're undefeated. They're on their way to the BCS Bowl game.
They were in the Sugar Bowl,
Yeah, took the job at LSU, maintained it, Les Miles and Coach O, for some reason, I don't know why those guys didn't last long with the success that they had. It seemed like both of their tenures ended rather abruptly. So for him to just go and have like sustained success and then go to Penn State, I think the Penn State leadership and the Penn State brass will welcome him because it's like, this is what you do. You leave a school, you go to another one, and you make it 10 wins successful, whereas like Matt Rule was like 8 wins successful.
Yeah.
I think Brian Kelly going to Penn State. I think of all the coaches that we've mentioned, I think that one makes the most sense because LSU, I think LSU can get like, name your favorite offensive coordinator that you think needs a job. I think that guy going to LSU can be successful.
All right. I lied. All right. This is for real, the last one, because I know you got to get out of here. If you're Urban Meyer, do you come off TV
Absolutely
to go coach
not.
at Penn State?
Absolutely not.
No.
You know what Urban Meyer's doing? Like, I don't know what his kids' ages are, but I bet you if they had a dance recital, he can get to it. I don't know if he has any nieces and nephews that he really likes, but if they play high school football, he can go to that game. It's for him, like I said, he's one of those guys, like if you showed up, him or Nick Saban come out of the studio back to the sideline, it's immediate. You need to win a national championship. In order to do that, each one of them is going to have to like just lean more into the NIL than I think their cachet would allow them to. Like Nick Saban's not sitting in a living room telling a 5-star quarterback in California, hey man, I promise you I'll get you $6 million. He's just not having that conversation. Even though he knows it's available, he's just not having that conversation. I don't think Urban Meyer is either.
Right. Okay.
Imagine Bill Parcells like sitting in a living room begging someone to come into school. I'm going to give you money. Like, bitch, I'm Bill Parcells. You need to come learn from me. Like that's why I didn't think Bill Belichick in North Carolina was going to work. It's like, what is Bill going to say? What humble statement could he give a recruit that says, "Hey man, come play for me"?
Yeah. Speaking of Bills, North Carolina coming up here shortly against Cal. Spot for James Franklin maybe, but he is the one and only, world renowned, world famous, cool, calm, and collected.
Absolutely.
Born in Texas, raised in VA, representing everything New Jerusalem. I just learned tonight that he does represent the Giants. He is Mr. Logical. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Laces are out.
And then, of course, down here in the Alamo, I'm your unorthodox statistician going left so much that you thought I was southpaw. Left so much that it made Manny Pacquiao's head spin. I am 2-5. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things with a liquid death in your hand. And if you can't get you a liquid death, get you some hydration. You need those electrolytes.
Moving on up.
We will be back on Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. Download everywhere that you get your DSPs, your Apples and Spotify's, so on and so forth. And we love you.
Grind, West Coast of the game, sports talk kings. Yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this